Okay, in this video we'll be talking about athlete profiles. Now, an athlete profile is essentially a means of capturing as much information as possible for a coach about a particular runner or athlete. It's essentially a questionnaire with some open-ended questions all about your medical history, your running journey up to this point, asking about your goals for the future, and various other details that all combine to paint a really great picture of where you're at in your running so far. Any athlete profile worth its salt will also include a physical activity readiness questionnaire, which is abbreviated as PARQ, P-A-R-Q, for physical activity readiness questionnaire. That's a form, and that's a tick box form, just to help your coach understand any medical issues in the past or things that they need to take account of in writing a plan for you. Now, as I said before at the end of the last video, I won't be writing anyone a particular specific training plan unless you contact me and ask me to do so, for which there's an additional charge, okay? So if that is something that you're interested in, really go to town on your athlete profile. If you're quite happy, or you have someone else who's doing you a training plan, or a training plan that you're following from somewhere else, then you don't necessarily need to worry too much about the athlete profile. That's really more for me to give you some help and support initially, and then to build on that and write training plans for you if at some point in the future you'd like to do that. So you don't have to fill it in straight away if that's something that you're not as interested in pursuing at the moment. So an athlete profile is great because it captures where you're at right now as a benchmark of where you're at up to. It also clarifies what goals you have, because then you can have a discussion with your coach or with me with regard to how realistic those goals are and what time frames you're expecting to try and be able to achieve them in. Okay, and also the other really helpful thing about the athlete profile is, based on what you did in module 1 about your time audit and your self audit, the athlete profile will then help gauge and see how often you can run in a week, what's manageable for you, what you've been doing recently, so that there isn't any issue there. So, you know, if you want to only run up to twice a week, but you're expecting to run a marathon in 4 weeks' time, then obviously the alarm bells will ring for the coach, and then you can have a discussion about, you know, when is realistic, how it's going to happen properly. So it's a way of making sure that everything gets vetted properly to help you in your running. The other thing to really point out about the athlete profile is to be as honest as possible, okay? On the profile that you get from me that you can fill in, the template, you'll notice at the bottom I say that all of the details that you share with me remain confidential, and it's important that that is the case, so that you can be really confident in telling me anything and everything that you think might be a factor in what I need to consider when I'm giving you some advice or when I'm writing a training plan, if that's the way you go. So be as honest as you can, and like I said before, if you're not sure, write things down anyway, because they might actually be useful, and if they're not directly useful, it might then prompt a question from your coach to find out a little bit more about that particular aspect, or something similar to that is useful to know about. Go to town on it, okay? No one's going to tell you you've written too much for your profile, all right? It's really important to capture as much information as possible. So really don't hold back, put everything out there that you possibly can. So fill it in, email it over to me if you're happy to, and then I will look at it and I will get back to you with some advice and initial support about how I think you should maybe approach running from this point on, based on where you're at right now, okay? Also, if you've got any other questions, then feel free to put those in the group, and I'll answer them in the weekly Ask Me Anything live, okay? So I think that's all the information I've got for now for you about what an athlete profile is. Have a go, have a look at it, see what you think, fill it in and get back to me. Okay, I'll see you on the next video.